Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's video, please subscribe and turn on your notification to always stay updated. This week has been one of the most fascinating weeks in recent royal history, not because of dramatic headlines, but because of what happened away from them. While media attention largely focused on Prince Harry's return to Britain, King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince William, Princess Catherine, Princess Anne and other working royals carried on with nearly 50 official engagements across the country. From hospitals to military bases, from Wimbledon to London Zoo, they demonstrated what the monarchy often describes as its core mission: service before spectacle. Today, we're taking a closer look at a remarkable week that revealed two very different approaches to public life. Rather than reacting to every headline, the working royals appeared determined to let their actions speak for themselves. So, let's explore how a packed royal diary became the biggest story of all. The week began with an unusual contrast. On one side, Prince Harry's visit to Britain generated constant speculation. Every development became headline news: where he would stay, whether he would meet his father, how long he would remain in the country, and what legal developments might unfold. News outlets followed every rumour, while commentators debated every possibility. Yet inside royal circles, something very different was happening. The working members of the royal family simply carried on with their responsibilities. King Charles opened the week by visiting the Tank Museum in Dorset, climbing aboard military vehicles and spending time with service personnel and their families. Queen Camilla travelled to East Sussex to celebrate the centenary of Winnie the Pooh, happily joining school children in a game of poo sticks. Princess Catherine visited children receiving specialist treatment at Evelina London Children's Hospital, bringing warmth and encouragement to families facing incredibly difficult circumstances. Prince William visited schools, community organisations and young people, while Princess Anne continued what has become almost legendary work ethic through multiple engagements across England. Instead of issuing statements or responding publicly to every Sussex headline, the palace largely allowed its calendar to tell its own story. Nearly 50 engagements in 5 days created an unmistakable impression that the institution's daily responsibilities continued regardless of whatever else dominated newspaper front pages. Whether intentional or simply the natural rhythm of royal life, the effect was striking. The monarchy projected stability through activity, allowing public service, not public disagreement, to remain at the centre of attention. One of the most remarkable aspects of this particular week wasn't a single headline-grabbing event, but the sheer breadth of work carried out by the royal family across the United Kingdom. Rather than concentrating on one major occasion, the royal diary was filled with visits that reflected the monarchy's long-standing commitment to supporting communities, recognizing achievement and highlighting important causes. Hospitals, schools, military organizations, charities, environmental projects and local businesses all featured prominently, creating a picture of an institution spread across the country rather than confined to palace walls. The Princess of Wales perhaps delivered one of the week's most memorable engagements during her visit to Evelina London Children's Hospital. Since her own health challenges, her appearances in medical settings naturally carry added significance. But what stood out wasn't symbolism alone, it was the ease with which she connected with patients and their families. She spent time speaking with children about their favorite books and television programs, encouraged a young boy to send her the poem he had written, and reassured anxious parents who faced difficult days caring for seriously ill children. Rather than rushing through a carefully choreographed schedule, Catherine appeared determined to give each family genuine attention, reminding everyone that compassion often leaves a deeper impression than ceremony. Elsewhere, Queen Camilla demonstrated the lighter side of royal engagements during her visit to Ashdown Forest, where celebrations marked 100 years of Winnie the Pooh. Watching her enthusiastically join children for a game of poo sticks offered a charming glimpse into an occasion that blended literature, education, and community spirit. Later, her visit to Plumpton College introduced another memorable moment as she met rescued wildlife, including playful lemurs that quickly became favourites in photographs shared by Buckingham Palace. These visits may seem modest compared to grand state occasions, yet they reflect an important part of the monarchy's role, drawing attention to local organisations, educational institutions and conservation efforts that benefit from national recognition. Prince William's engagements revealed another important dimension of modern royal service. His visit to the London Welsh School demonstrated his ongoing commitment to strengthening his Welsh language skills while celebrating Welsh culture and identity. He laughed with pupils, accepted a playful lesson from a unicorn mascot, and spoke enthusiastically about the summer of sport ahead. Later in Hastings, the focus shifted toward youth mental health, housing support, and community well-being. Rather than delivering lengthy speeches, William spent much of the day listening, to teenagers discussing their futures, to fishermen describing the challenges facing coastal communities, and to volunteers working to create safe spaces for vulnerable young people. His induction into the historic Winkle Club added a touch of humour to the day, but the engagement itself centred on supporting charitable work that has served local families for generations. Meanwhile, Princess Anne once again illustrated why she is frequently regarded as one of the monarchy's most dedicated working members. In a single week, she attended manufacturing and engineering conferences, recognised apprentices, visited housing initiatives, met charity workers, and celebrated innovation in British industry. These engagements rarely generate major headlines, yet they consistently place a spotlight on sectors that contribute significantly to national life. Her schedule reflected the quiet consistency that has characterized her public service for decades. Taken together, these engagements demonstrated that the royal family's work extends far beyond ceremonial appearances. Whether meeting schoolchildren, encouraging medical professionals, recognizing volunteers, or supporting community organizations, each visit served a wider purpose. It reinforced relationships between the Crown and communities across Britain while giving recognition to people whose contributions might otherwise go unnoticed. In many respects, that steady, often understated presence has become one of the defining characteristics of the modern working monarchy. Among all the developments during the week, perhaps the most encouraging was what it suggested about King Charles himself. After spending much of the past 2 years balancing royal responsibilities with cancer treatment, reports indicated that he has gradually returned to a full 5-day working schedule. While adjustments had previously been made to reduce travel and allow additional time for recovery, this week suggested that those restrictions have eased considerably. For supporters of the monarchy, it was an encouraging sign that the king continues to regain strength while remaining committed to fulfilling his constitutional role. The king's diary alone would have been demanding for someone half his age. Beginning with a visit to the Tank Museum in Dorset, he spent time with members of the Royal Tank Regiment and their families, before climbing aboard a Challenger 2 tank, complete with helmet and protective goggles. It was an engagement that balanced military tradition with genuine enthusiasm, allowing the king to connect personally with service personnel while embracing the experience with his characteristic sense of curiosity. From there, his schedule moved seamlessly between constitutional duties and public engagements. At Windsor Castle, he conducted an investiture ceremony, presenting honours to dozens of recipients whose achievements spanned public service, charity work, and national life. He later met representatives from the renewable energy sector, reflecting his long-standing interest in environmental issues, before chairing official meetings with ambassadors, bishops, members of parliament, and the Privy Council. Much of this work happens behind closed doors and rarely attracts media attention, yet it forms an essential part of the king's responsibilities as head of state. One of the week's most widely shared moments came during the King and Queen's visit to London Zoo. While the photographs of penguins and tortoises naturally attracted attention, the engagement itself highlighted wildlife conservation and veterinary science. King Charles helped researchers identify snails by carefully painting their shells with purple nail polish, allowing scientists to monitor them more effectively. Queen Camilla joined in by naming a queen bee after herself, creating moments of humour that reflected the relaxed atmosphere of the visit. These lighter exchanges showed a monarch who remains comfortable engaging directly with the public while supporting organisations that combine education with conservation. The king's visit to Oxford later in the week demonstrated another aspect of his reign: support for education, innovation, and research. By unveiling new facilities dedicated to the humanities and defence technology, he highlighted sectors that will shape Britain's future while maintaining the monarchy's traditional role in recognising national achievement. Even after several demanding days, He continued attending private audiences, receiving senior advisors and meeting leaders from a range of organizations, illustrating the less visible but equally significant responsibilities that occupy much of a monarch's working life. Perhaps the greatest takeaway from the week was not any individual engagement, but the consistency with which the king carried them out. Despite the physical demands of travel, public appearances, and official meetings, he maintained a full program that reflected renewed confidence in his health. It also reinforced the message that public service remained central to his reign. For a monarch approaching his late 70s, returning to such a demanding schedule represented a notable milestone and a reassuring sign of continuity for the institution he leads. Throughout the week, speculation surrounding Prince Harry's visit remained almost constant. Every rumor concerning accommodation, family meetings, and legal developments quickly generated headlines, prompting endless debate among commentators and royal watchers alike. Yet one of the palace's most noticeable responses was its refusal to become drawn into that cycle. Rather than answering every claim or responding publicly to every development, royal officials largely maintained their customary discretion, allowing events to unfold without adding further commentary. This approach reflected a broader philosophy that has often characterized the modern monarchy. Palace officials have generally sought to distinguish between private family relationships and the institution's public responsibilities. As speculation continued over whether King Charles would meet his younger son, no official timetable was released, no public statements fueled anticipation, and no photographs were offered to shape the narrative. Instead, the king's official diary proceeded exactly as planned, filled with engagements that focused on national and community life rather than family matters. When confirmation eventually emerged that the King and Queen had privately hosted Prince Harry, Meghan, and their children at Highgrove, the announcement itself remained understated. The meeting reportedly took place at the King's private Gloucestershire residence rather than at Buckingham Palace or Windsor Castle, giving it the appearance of a family gathering rather than an official royal event. There were no carefully staged photographs or detailed briefings about the conversations that took place. In many ways, the simplicity of the announcement reflected the palace's determination to treat the occasion as a private matter. At the same time, other members of the royal family continued carrying out engagements across Britain without interruption. Princess Anne attended conferences and charity events, Queen Camilla visited educational and conservation projects, Prince William focused on community initiatives, and the Princess of Wales continued her work supporting children's healthcare and early years development. Collectively, these engagements ensured that public attention remained divided between family developments and the wider responsibilities of the monarchy. Whether one interprets this strategy as careful planning or simply adherence to established royal practice, it illustrated an important distinction. Personal relationships within the family remain deeply significant, but they do not suspend the constitutional role of the crown. Schools continue to welcome royal visitors. Volunteers still receive recognition. Hospitals still benefit from patronage. Military organizations still carry out ceremonial duties. In that sense, the monarchy demonstrated its ability to balance private family considerations with ongoing public responsibilities. By avoiding public confrontation while quietly continuing its work, the royal family projected an image of stability during a week that could easily have become dominated entirely by speculation. It was an approach rooted less in dramatic responses and more in measured consistency, allowing actions rather than statements to define the week's narrative. Perhaps the clearest message to emerge from the week was that today's monarchy functions as a collaborative institution rather than one centered solely on the sovereign. Although King Charles remains the focal point of the crown, the effectiveness of the modern royal family increasingly depends on a team of working royals who collectively represent the monarchy across the United Kingdom. This week provided an excellent example of how that shared responsibility operates in practice. While the king fulfilled constitutional duties and represented the nation at official events, Queen Camilla maintained her own programs supporting literacy, education, conservation, and community organizations. Her engagements ranged from celebrating the literary legacy of Winnie the Pooh to visiting Wimbledon and London Zoo, demonstrating how royal patronage can bring attention to cultural institutions as well as charitable causes. Her schedule complemented the king's work while allowing both to reach different audiences throughout the country. Prince William's engagements reflected the priorities he has increasingly championed in recent years. Youth mental health, homelessness prevention, community resilience and environmental awareness all featured prominently in his visits. Whether speaking with schoolchildren learning Welsh or meeting volunteers supporting vulnerable young people in Hastings, he consistently focused on listening to local experiences rather than dominating the conversation. His annual charity polo match later in the week also highlighted another important aspect of royal work: raising substantial funds for organisations that depend on continued public support. The Princess of Wales continued building on the areas that have become central to her public role. Her commitment to children's well-being, family support and early childhood development remained evident throughout the week, both during public engagements and private meetings connected to her early years initiative. Her hospital visit illustrated how personal empathy can strengthen public service, particularly when speaking with families facing circumstances she can genuinely understand. Princess Anne's schedule once again underlined why she is widely admired for her remarkable work ethic. Moving efficiently between conferences, award ceremonies, housing projects and engineering events, she maintained the pace that has defined her decades of public service. Alongside her, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, the Duke of Kent and the Duchess of Edinburgh quietly fulfilled engagements that often receive less media attention but remain valuable to the organisations they support. Their contributions demonstrated that the monarchy's reach extends well beyond its most recognisable figures. When viewed collectively, the week's engagements revealed a carefully distributed workload. Rather than concentrating dozens of appearances on one or two individuals, responsibilities were shared across the family, enabling the monarchy to maintain a visible presence in communities across England, Wales and beyond. Some engagements celebrated achievement, others highlighted important social issues, while many simply acknowledged the efforts of volunteers, professionals and local organisations whose work strengthens society every day. In many respects, this coordinated approach may be one of the monarchy's greatest strengths. Individual personalities naturally attract public attention, but it is the combined efforts of multiple working royals that allow the institution to maintain such a broad national presence. During a week when headlines could easily have focused exclusively on family developments, the collective work of the wider royal family served as a reminder that public service remains the foundation upon which the modern monarchy continues to build its role. Looking back, this week may ultimately be remembered less for its controversies than for the contrast it revealed. While public debate often gravitates toward conflict and personal drama, the day-to-day work of the monarchy continued almost uninterrupted. Hospitals were visited, community groups received support, volunteers were recognised, military personnel were thanked, environmental projects were promoted, young people were encouraged, public servants were honoured. None of these moments generated the same instant headlines as royal family disagreements. Yet together, they formed a much broader picture of what the institution spends most of its time doing. Whether one supports the monarchy or questions its future, there is little doubt that the working members maintained an exceptionally busy schedule throughout the week. Their collective approach suggested that consistency, visibility and public service remain central to how the modern royal family seeks to define itself. As the summer programme continues, with Wimbledon finals, regional visits and more official engagements already scheduled, the rhythm of royal life shows no signs of slowing down. For King Charles and his family, the message appeared clear. While headlines may come and go, the work continues. Thank you so much for joining me for today's discussion. What do you think? Was this week a demonstration of the royal family's commitment to public service? Or do you think the headlines surrounding Prince Harry inevitably overshadowed everything else? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest royal discussions. Until next time, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.